In today's globalized world, migration is an essential part of life. People move across borders for better economic opportunities, education, or simply to find a safer place to live. But not all countries are equally welcoming to Muslim immigrants. There are nations that have implemented laws or maintain policies that, in some cases, explicitly or implicitly restrict the entry of Muslim immigrants. In this video, we will highlight the top 10 countries where Muslim immigrants face restrictions or are not allowed. Number 1. Japan. Japan is known for its strict immigration policies overall, but especially when it comes to Muslim immigrants, the country is not very welcoming. With one of the smallest Muslim populations in the world, Japan has historically preferred a homogeneous society. Despite its cultural advancements and openness in many areas, Japan maintains a guarded stance towards immigration. While there is no explicit ban on Muslim immigrants, the visa and asylum processes are extremely stringent. Japan has one of the lowest asylum approval rates globally, making it incredibly difficult for Muslim immigrants to settle here. Moreover, the cultural norms in Japan often clash with Islamic practices, leading to a lack of understanding and acceptance. Many Muslim travelers have reported difficulties in finding halal food and prayer spaces, which can be discouraging for those considering a longer stay. The government has yet to implement significant policies to support Muslim immigrants or refugees, showcasing a reluctance to embrace diversity. This resistance has sparked debates both domestically and internationally about Japan's immigration stance, leaving many wondering whether the nation can balance its rich traditions with the realities of a changing world. Number 2. Hungary. Hungary has made international headlines for its staunch stance against Muslim immigrants. Prime Minister Viktor Orban's government has been vocal about rejecting Muslim refugees and migrants, particularly during the Syrian refugee crisis. Hungary built border fences and implemented strict asylum laws that specifically target Muslim migrants. The government's narrative often revolves around the idea of protecting European Christian identity, making it difficult for Muslims to immigrate. Hungary's policies have led to a rise in xenophobic sentiments among the local population, with anti-immigrant rhetoric becoming a central theme in political discourse. Public demonstrations against Muslim immigration have been common, further solidifying a culture of intolerance. Many Hungarian citizens express fears about cultural dilution and loss of national identity, which the government capitalizes on to justify its restrictive policies. This atmosphere creates significant barriers for Muslim immigrants seeking refuge or a better life in Hungary, compelling many to seek alternatives in more welcoming countries. Number 3. Slovakia. Slovakia is another European country that has been resistant to accepting Muslim immigrants. In 2015, during the height of the European refugee crisis, Slovakia openly stated that it would only accept Christian refugees. The government cited cultural differences as one of the reasons for rejecting Muslim immigrants. Although there is no legal ban, the hostile attitude and policies make it an unwelcome place for Muslim immigrants. The Slovakian government's rhetoric has often painted Muslims as a threat to the country's cultural fabric, leading to a narrative that vilifies the very notion of Muslim immigration. This public sentiment has resulted in protests and a lack of support for policies that would offer assistance to refugees. Many Muslim immigrants face outright hostility, making it challenging for them to navigate life in Slovakia. The lack of Muslim representation in government and society further complicates the situation, reinforcing the cycle of exclusion and fear. Number 4. Poland. Poland has also taken a firm stand against Muslim immigration, especially under the Law and Justice Party, PIS. During the European migrant crisis, Poland refused to take in Muslim refugees, citing concerns over security and cultural integration. The political discourse in Poland often frames Muslim immigration as a threat to the country's Catholic identity. This narrative has led to the introduction of policies that actively discourage Muslim immigrants, including restrictive asylum laws and increased border security. The media often portrays Muslims in a negative light, perpetuating stereotypes that further alienate this group. Many Polish citizens have been swayed by this rhetoric, leading to a significant divide between different cultural communities. The Polish government's approach has not only impacted Muslim immigrants, but also raised concerns among human rights organizations about the broader implications of such exclusionary practices. Number 5. Myanmar. Myanmar, also known as Burma, has been in the spotlight for its brutal treatment of the Rohingya Muslims. The government of Myanmar does not recognize the Rohingya as citizens and has been accused of committing ethnic cleansing against this Muslim minority. The international community has condemned these actions, but the Myanmar government continues to maintain a hardline stance against Muslim populations. While the country allows some foreign workers, it is practically impossible for Muslim immigrants to gain citizenship or settle there due to religious and ethnic discrimination. The Rohingya crisis has resulted in significant global outrage, but little has changed on the ground in Myanmar. Many Rohingya are forced to flee to neighboring countries under dangerous conditions, further exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. This situation has raised critical questions about human rights and the treatment of minorities within the nation, leading many to call for intervention and support for displaced communities. Number 6. China. China has a complex relationship with its Muslim population, particularly the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. While China allows foreign workers and students, Muslim immigrants face significant challenges due to the country's strict surveillance and policies aimed at controlling its Muslim population. Reports have surfaced detailing the Chinese government's crackdown on religious practices, with many Uyghurs being detained in so-called re-education camps. The situation is dire for those seeking refuge in China, as fear of persecution looms large. The government's actions have been condemned internationally, yet China remains resolute in its stance. Many Muslim immigrants who do manage to enter the country find themselves navigating a restrictive environment that limits their freedom of expression and religious practices. This creates a culture of fear that discourages many from even considering China as a potential destination. Number 7. Israel. Although Israel is home to a significant Muslim population, particularly Palestinian Muslims, the country's immigration policies are not friendly toward Muslim immigrants from other nations. Israel's immigration laws primarily favor Jewish immigrants through the law of return, making it difficult for Muslims to migrate to the country. While some may gain entry through work or study visas, the overall process is challenging for Muslims due to Israel's national identity as a Jewish state. The ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict further complicates matters, with many Muslim immigrants facing discrimination and hostility. The legal and social landscape for Muslims in Israel can be fraught with challenges, raising questions about the rights of Muslim immigrants in a nation that claims to uphold democratic values. Number 8. Bhutan. Bhutan is a small Buddhist kingdom nestled in the Himalayas, and it is known for its strict immigration policies. The government maintains a policy of promoting a homogeneous national identity, and there is limited tolerance for religious diversity, including Islam. While Bhutan accepts some immigrants for work, it has no significant Muslim immigrant population, and its policies do not favor the settlement of Muslims in the country. The government's focus on preserving its cultural heritage often results in a reluctance to accept religious minorities. This lack of openness has led to a situation where Muslim immigrants find it exceedingly difficult to gain a foothold in Bhutan, with many opting for neighboring countries that are more welcoming. Bhutan's approach to immigration raises critical discussions about the balance between cultural preservation and the need for a more inclusive society. Number 9. Greece. Greece has historically had a difficult relationship with its Muslim minority, particularly with the Turkish Muslim population in Western Thrace. While Greece does not have an explicit ban on Muslim immigration, it has been criticized for its harsh treatment of Muslim refugees during the migrant crisis. Reports of pushbacks and detention of Muslim asylum seekers have drawn the ire of human rights organizations. The Greek government's response to the migrant crisis has led to widespread suffering among Muslim refugees, many of whom are trapped in overcrowded camps with limited access to basic necessities. This situation has not only fueled anti-immigrant sentiments but also strained Greece's international relations as the world watches the treatment of vulnerable populations. The challenges faced by Muslim immigrants in Greece reflect broader issues of discrimination and xenophobia within European borders. Number 10. The Czech Republic. The Czech Republic has been vocal about its opposition to Muslim immigration. During the European migrant crisis, the Czech government refused to participate in the EU's refugee relocation program, which was designed to take in Muslim refugees. Political leaders in the country have frequently expressed concerns about Islamic culture and its compatibility with Czech society, leading to policies that make it difficult for Muslim immigrants to settle there. The public discourse in the Czech Republic has been increasingly polarized, with right-wing parties gaining traction by capitalizing on fears surrounding Muslim immigration. Many Muslims who attempt to seek refuge or work in the country encounter hostility and prejudice, complicating their integration efforts. The Czech Republic's policies and public attitudes toward Muslim immigrants raise critical questions about the future of multiculturalism in Europe and the rights of those seeking asylum.